Hello, welcome back to the weekly poster roundup. We're talking about the posters for the week of the 19th to the 25th of August, and we've got a couple of really good ones for you. So let's talk about them. Okay, so the first poster we're going to look at is Azrael. I really like the composition of this poster. Her head being upside down is instantly really eye-catching. We have this cross here, so we can sort of get that it's like a horror film that has religious themes to it. So that's all very clear. I like that. Maybe my only gripe with this is the type for the title. Firstly, I don't think it's that well integrated into the poster. It does seem a bit like an afterthought. I don't necessarily love that the knife kind of cuts between the R and the A there. They did try to integrate it somewhat using color because it's got the same color as the knife and it's got the same blood stains as the knife, but it doesn't fully gel with me, and it's hard to really figure out why. I think that just the type is a little bit hard to read. The A's and the R's can be easily confused. This tagline here does kind of feel a bit more integrated into the poster. It does feel like it's part of the background, but it is just sort of randomly placed here on the side. So I think overall, just the text is maybe my one gripe with this, but overall it's pretty good. I don't have any big qualms with it. I think it's a B. Okay, so Bridget Jones, mad about the boy. Surprised they're still making these movies. So poster-wise, I think they're doing something very intentional, which is basically following the same structure as the posters for the original. It knows its audience, it knows what it's about, but as far as poster design is concerned, it's like pretty bland. It's just, our protagonist posing in front of a white background. Like, the only thing really that they did here to make it anything like aesthetic is the color scheme with the pink and the purple. And the pink complements her sweater there. So, yeah, overall, this is like a pretty bland poster. There's not much I can say. There's no real design work done here that couldn't be done by just about any amateur designer. I think I'm going to put it at D. All right, Exhibiting Forgiveness. At first glance, I just find this like a really, really nice poster to look at. And I think it does one thing really cool, which is it has these two elements, one in the background, one in the foreground, but the poster sort of invites us to look at both things together. They sort of share equal emphasis on the poster. I really like, obviously, just the colors of the painting. I think what's interesting, too, is that the text sort of blends in a little bit with the wall. The title itself is not immediately evident just because of how colorful the rest of it is. So I just think that's really nice. In general, really nicely laid out. I really like the positioning of the text everywhere. I think that's an A for sure. All right, Incoming. I think we've looked at another Incoming poster before. All right, so this one has just in general a more commercial vibe than the last poster that we looked at. And I really don't like the aesthetic of everything having been shot in like a photography studio. It does do one thing in an interesting way, which is kind of making the title sort of like a drop shadow of these characters. So that is kind of cool. And the title's not like the easiest to read. Obviously, on one hand, that's not like a great thing for the title not to be that legible. But on the other hand, it does mean that they sort of sacrificed commercial viability for this kind of idea. Having the solo cups and the wine bottles on top of the title make it just a little bit more cluttered, and that sort of represents, I guess, what the film is going to be like. It is just kind of a commercial poster. It's not really going for anything too ambitious. I'm starting to think that Netflix purposefully make their titles red for their movies just so that they complement with the logo of the Netflix at the bottom. Which I think that's kind of funny. This is probably like a high C. All right, the new Joker film. At first glance, I think that the image is instantly pretty striking. I like this low angle shot that they use. I like the kind of the intimacy of these two characters. We have these sort of like droplets of blood on them, which just adds that extra level of intrigue. I like the way that this is all lit. It's pretty nice to look at in that regard. And very, very simplistic text usage here. I like the design of the logo for the title, but What I don't love about it really is that Folie Deux, it's kind of hard to read. I think that's my only qualm. It's nice to look at, but it's not like too ambitious. It doesn't do anything too unique. I don't know. I think maybe it is like a high B. Let's Start a Cult. Once again, kind of like Incoming, I don't like the photography studio aesthetic of this poster. It's kind of bland. I think the text is really cool. We have the protagonist's name here with just like a different shade of pink purple, and obviously this logo is really cool. We have the U playing as sort of like a hanging rope for this character. That adds to the comedy of the whole thing. If we just ignore the title for a second, this would be, yeah, like a D maybe, because it's just kind of a boring poster to look at. I mean, we have these characters that are all part of the cult, and we have this one tie-dyed guy that makes him stand out, but I just don't love the way the colors work together. I don't think that his outfit really looks that good with the pink background. I don't think it's a D just because I think that the text is really well done, and it's an instantly memorable element, right? That low-hanging U is something that when somebody suggests one day in like 5 months, whenever this movie comes out, hey, let's go see Let's Start a Cult, I feel like the strength of that you playing as like a hanging rope for that character is something that you'll instantly remember. So I think between the two photography studio ones, I think this is a C, and I think it's higher than Incoming. Okay, Matt and Mara. Off the bat, I just love how this poster looks. I think the three colors work super nicely together. Just the fact, like, they really played with the fact that Matt and Mara start with the same letter. I feel like they sort of based the concept of the poster around that fact. And I think one thing that's really cool about this poster, I mean, I really love this sort of outline illustration of the two characters. And what's cool about it, I think, is that it's not often that you'll be able to get characters' faces on top of their names, by the mere fact that, like, if a character's on top of a name, you're just not going to be able to see the name underneath it. But given that they're going with this concept of having like an outline illustration thing, it's not the obvious thing to do to put your characters on top of the names, but you instantly know that these characters are those characters. And I like how they're kind of linked here as if it's like one long drawing. And I like how they're facing opposite directions. A lot of empty space. It's so classy. It's just a really, really elegant design. I think that this is an S tier. I think it's really gorgeous, and it's something that I could see myself putting up on a wall. Megalopolis. Now, this is a movie that's been widely talked about because it's Francis Ford Coppola's return to the scene. And having seen the trailer of this movie, I will say that, you know, this kind of gold geometric shape aesthetic is something that seems to be in the movie, but it's kind of ugly to look at. I don't personally love this gold aesthetic. So, I mean, it's hard, right? Because they want to be faithful to sort of the look and feel of the movie itself. And they've applied that to the poster, but I just don't think that that's really nice to look at. Otherwise, like, conceptually, it's a pretty generic poster. We just have our character standing in front. He's backlit, which I guess is kind of interesting. The use of text, I guess it's like, you know, well thought out. We have it in like sort of a triangle shape to sort of fill out this pentagon. But it does seem a little bit clunky. I wonder if maybe they could have done something with like the sizing to make Adam Driver's name stand out a bit more and make it larger. Given that all of these names are similar in size and in color, it just looks kind of flat. I don't really like this poster very much at all. It just seems like a lot of text here. What I'm hearing about the movie is that there's like a strong creative direction. It's just not to people's tastes. And I could sort of say the same thing about the poster. Like, there is thought put into it. I can't imagine it was that easy to design all of this. But it just kind of looks ugly to me. Kind of stuck between a C and a D. Okay, The Piano Lesson. Once again, it's a Netflix movie that also has a red title, so it complements the Netflix. So that's pretty funny. A few things that I really like about this. Again, really interesting, striking image to look at. I just love all that overhead space that's just filled with black smoke. I think that looks really nice. If you take out all the text, it's just a really great photograph on its own. One of the things I like the most about this is the irony of the concept, right? The movie is called The Piano Lesson. And so the last thing that you'd expect in a piano lesson is for a piano to be untouchable because it's burning in a field, right? So that juxtaposition instantly intrigues you for what this movie is going to be about. I think it's an A, and I'll probably put it above Exhibiting Forgiveness. This is a really nice poster. Okay, so Rebel Ridge this is the second Rebel Ridge poster that I've reviewed on this channel, and they've both been quite strong. It does fall under things that we've seen before. A large floating head overlooming the rest of the poster, and it's like a framed image. Posters with frames on them are kind of a dime a dozen. But what it does with those cliches makes it stand out among its peers. The fact that, for one thing, that they're illustrated just instantly makes it a more interesting floating head poster. It is framed, but the fact that the frame is cut off because it seems like it's an image that's burning from the bottom up, that's just a really nice element. It also seems to have like a thematic relevance to the story. I really like how this tagline is just really bold and really just, calls to your attention. This is probably like just a strong B. It does fall under a few poster cliches, but it does it in its own kind of unique way, and it results in like a pretty aesthetically pleasing poster to look at. Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. There's not much to say here. I feel like it's quite simple. I do like the choice that they made, having like a large photo of Christopher Reeve in his most iconic role. But design-wise, I feel like pretty much anybody with any sort of capabilities on Photoshop could have designed this. I guess the only thing that's kind of harder to do is the font for the text. But I don't know if I even like it that much. I admire its simplicity, but it's something that I'll probably forget after filming this video. So I think I'm gonna put that in C. All right, Damien Leone's Terrifier 3. This is also quite a simple poster, but it does work for its genre. It's a horror film, and making this horror character really front and center and occupy basically 4/5 of the space. I think it works for what it's trying to do. I would have maybe played a little bit more with the lighting, made it a bit more suggestive. Right now I feel like he's too well lit, and it kind of takes away some of the mystery. I also don't really love this axe reflection thing. It feels like an artificial axe, because no axe would actually reflect this perfectly. It just makes the axe look like glass, and that's just a bit less scary than an axe that's made of metal that could crush you, right? It's pretty good. It gets the job done. I just think that the execution is not the best. I might put it as like a low B. All right, 200% Wolf. What can I say? This is just another really generic 3D animated poster. One thing that they did that's kind of unique is make the title kind of wolf-y. These 3D animated posters sort of just follow the same sort of structure, which is, all right, title, check. We get a little tagline, check. We get a background that tells us what the setting of this place is going to be, check. And we get all of our characters sort of posing, at the front of the poster, check. I guess, we have a red, it's like the force of evil, contrasting with the rest of the poster, which is blue. So that's that's something, but yeah, I think I'm going to put this at the bottom here. Okay, Wicked. This one's a little bit better than 200% Wolf, because it's also pretty commercial, but it does do a couple of things kind of interestingly. Firstly, I do like this sort of rounded frame for the characters that then leads up to the sky. I like the way that the tagline sort of fills in this space over here. My one issue with this poster is that, other than it just kind of looking a little bit generic, is that I feel like it's a bit of a half measure. See, pink and green don't really complement each other or work well together like that well. And as you can see in this title, like they're trying to do a thing where it's like, she's pink on one side, the other witch is green on the other, and the title, it does it in reverse. And I think it was trying to go for something there, but I don't know if it fully works for me, because the left side of this poster is pretty much green and black, and the right side isn't pink. And the reason it isn't pink is because pink and green don't really look that well together on a poster. So I feel like they had this concept. They wanted to play with the duality of the pink and the green, but they couldn't go all the way with it because it ended up looking ugly. This is my theory on what happened. So they decided to only keep it between the two characters and the title itself. I don't think the result is that nice to look at. I do appreciate that the characters are kind of, it's kind of a long shot of the characters. Normally in very generic kind of Disney posters, we would see these characters a bit more up close. It's not the worst poster by any means. It does look a little bit like artificial, and I don't think it's particularly creative in any way. And the thing that they did try to do that was creative, I don't think works. I might put it as like a low C. All right, last poster of the day, Y2K. This is like a very simple idea. I imagine it might just be like a teaser, because we don't even know who this movie stars. But it's just a plug. The plug is sharp, so you can tell it's sort of like a horror film, but the plug sort of fits in thematically with Y2K. That was like a whole technology scare that happened in 1999. It's very simple. I kind of like how the green and yellow kind of neon lighting of the text shines onto the plug. It's pretty well done. Drops of blood to sort of suggest that it's going to be a horror film. This is like the definition of a B. It's like a solid B, and I think I might put it there below Joker. And that's everything. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and comment your favorite poster of the week. Would love to hear it.